Welcome to the 9th episode of the Gabriel podcast. Hi guys, future Gabriel here. I am inserting this mental health disclaimer. In this episode, we will talk about eating disorders, and to those that may be sensitive to this type of material, please proceed with caution. Okay, enjoy the episode. Today, my guest here is Mikaela Manzano. She's part of the incoming class for CSULB's MS in Nutritional Science with the combined program with the Dietetic Internship. So, welcome, Mikaela.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. First and foremost, I want to congratulate you for getting into the program. I know that wasn't easy, and so congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was my number one program, so I was super stoked to, click the page and be like, yes, I'm in.
Yeah, so that's really nice. So how's it been? I guess from the time that you got accepted to now, how's that kind of time period been for you?
It's been a bit hectic. So I am currently taking a gap year. I graduated from Cal Poly last spring, so about a year ago now. And since then, I have stayed in SLO, San Luis Obispo, and I've been working more or less full time between two jobs. So that's been keeping me pretty busy. So match day was in April, and since then, basically most of my focus has been just trying to find a place to live in Long Beach, since that's, kind of the biggest thing between now and starting the program. And then we have had some contact, obviously, between the students, the incoming class, and the professors, the people running the program. So getting, tidbits of information here and there. We had a Q&A session where I got to see some faces of the people that will be in the program. So yeah, that's been kind of what's been going on. But it's definitely been, my focus is kind of just on making it through this next couple months, and then planning to move down to Long Beach next month. So yeah.
Cool. I guess one thing is what made kind of Long Beach your number one choice? How did that kind of come about?
Yeah. So I don't know if people know this, but to become a registered dietitian, you have to do the dietetic internship. And in 2024, I believe, in order to be able to apply for a dietetic internship, you will have to have completed a master's program. So I technically wouldn't have to do this. I've graduated early enough that I could just skip the master's thing. But I figure it'll help make me competitive in the future, better pay, hopefully. And so I was like, hey, you know what? Let's see if we can do a program that already has a master's in it. Get it all done in one fell swoop. And then Long Beach itself was really appealing to me, mostly because of the communities that I'm a part of. So when I started at Cal Poly, I got really involved in the salsa Latin dance community there. And through that, I got to kind of branch out and meet a bunch of other college clubs and just people in a bunch of different places, because we would, travel to go to socials and things. And I found out that there's a really, big club, and they have a team at Long Beach. And so I was like, yes, I need that in my life. I already know some people there. I think I know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've met the coach of the team, and he likes me. So that was I know the area itself too is has a big Latin and salsa community to go to, even if I'm not necessarily going to the school all the time. So that was one of the big things for me for Long Beach. Was the combined masters with the internship. Also, the other thing that made it stand out to me was when I was parsing through all of the potential internships that I could apply to. One of the big things that I looked for to kind of weed out all the ones that could be but kind of couldn't. I am personally looking to pursue kind of the field of eating disorders. So I'd like to work in that field. And so I really wanted my program to cover that in their curriculum, which not all do. So I was really happy that Long Beach does have it as part of their curriculum, and they have, the option to work at these sort of facilities or with have mentors in that field. Yeah, it was kind of those three things: was eating disorders, salsa, masters, and then also, fourth thing, I am California native, had no desire to leave California, so everywhere I applied to was in California. So happy that my GPA was high enough that I could do that.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah, those are the four things.
Okay, no, that's really cool. Yeah, because definitely I can see why, Cal State would be pretty up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that California thing, actually, when I was, thinking about internships too, like, that was actually kind of like, like, one of the important things as well. Like, for me, at least. Like,
yeah.
It's either California, like, the combined programs, or, like, distance and, contemplate those.
Yeah.
So, have you always lived, in that area, the San Luis Obispo area?
No. So originally I am from Davis, California, which is honestly basically SLO but north. They're very similar. UC Davis and San Luis Obispo they're both ag schools. Have engineering programs. They're very similar. Just one is a UC and one is a CSU.
Mm-hmm.
And the communities are also very similar. It's kind of like a small college town, very community oriented. Definitely not a city, but like sort of. I mean, San Luis Obispo isn't even really close to any big cities. Davis at least has like Sacramento and the Bay Area sort of nearby. But yeah, so that is what I'm used to. But yeah, I'm just slowly moving more south over the years.
I see. How's that kind of transition a little bit compared?
Sorry, just clarify. Like what? Just like the moving south part of it.
Like locations. Like, is it like weather and people?
Yeah. So SLO is definitely, it is a more coastal town. It's not on the coast, but it's close enough to the ocean that we're getting like that kind of weather happening. So it is definitely, it's more temperate than Davis. Davis is a lot more inland. It's kind of more in the valley, so it gets a lot hotter and also a lot colder. Here it's definitely like chiller. In terms of like people, it's been pretty much the same. I didn't have that culture shock of like, I know a lot of people came here from the city and they're like, it's weird, it's really white, and I'm like, you're probably right, I'm just used to that. It's a little sad. It's kind of sad to think about it, but yeah, it's a very white, affluent community, which I was lucky enough to, white part, I don't know if I'm lucky. I was lucky enough to grow up in a relatively affluent community, so I had a lot of opportunities presented to me. But yeah, so that move was really easy. It felt very comfortable. I actually even got the benefit here of I have a lot of nature around me now. So like I can drive for 5 minutes and just like go on a hike. And there are like a bunch of those around here. So I really love that about SLO, and like the ocean's like 15 minutes away if I wanted to do that too. Davis is kind of in the middle of nowhere. Fields of agriculture surrounding you. And then, yeah, I think Long Beach is going to be the biggest transition to date because it will be a city, which I'm not used to. I have to, a big conversation that's been coming up between me and my partner who will be living with me is he's very concerned about my safety, which I've never really had to worry about before because everywhere I've lived up to this point have been very safe. So I will have to start carrying pepper spray, make sure I don't have any valuables in the car, all of that. All of those things that are, just like common sense in the city that I just have never had to really think about.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I will have the beach close to me there, but I will miss, being able to go on hikes that are, as easy to get to and having to adjust to a lot more traffic, a lot busier streets, all of that. So yeah, that's transition that I'm not necessarily looking forward to per se, but I know that I can handle and that, I don't think it'll be too bad during the 2-year program that I'll be there.
Yeah, I would definitely say the biggest, or one of the biggest downsides over there was the traffic. don't like being stuck in the street for very long. But yeah, that's cool. And I guess the other thing with Long Beach is like it's very diverse city. I mean, it just I've been based here in Long Beach like my whole life, and so it's just I mean, you just see every type of person here.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely noticed. My mom and I actually went down to visit and kind of do some apartment hunting. Last week when you first contacted me, I was in Long Beach actually. Well, technically we were over in like closer to Huntington Beach because that's where we got the hotel, but you know, same difference. And I definitely did notice like in the places that we were kind of standing around, we like went to a park at one point and I was like, this is a very different, like, there's a lot more different people. It's very different than the communities I've grown up in. It's not to say that it's bad or better necessarily, just that it is different. I mean, it probably is better to have more diversity, but it is better to have more diversity. But yeah, it's just different. So I am kind of looking forward to that part, having that surrounding me.
Cool. So maybe if we can go back down, there's a couple questions here, but maybe we can start off with like, you know, your early schooling, you know, growing up, you know, getting into school, like how was that for you, I guess, in general, like elementary school, like middle school era, kind of?
Yeah. So elementary school was, so I went to a Spanish immersion elementary school, which means that like, I mean, you start off with a little bit more English, and as you go kind of on the years, it's like, you know, going to Spanish classes in general, where like more and more you start just speaking in Spanish more at the time. My parents enrolled me in that partially because I am half Colombian. My dad is Colombian. All of his family basically lives in Colombia. And so, you know, they didn't speak Spanish to me at home, so that was always a way for me to have that and be able to connect with my family, who, to be fair, my family there probably speaks better English than I speak Spanish. But I did continue with the language, continue to take it throughout middle school and high school because I wanted to keep that connection. And it's a really valuable skill to have, especially in California. So I don't practice it as much as I probably should. But I do work in a hospital where, you know, sometimes you get patients that only speak Spanish. I'm like, cool, I can use this. But yeah, elementary school, I don't know. It feels like, I mean, it kind of was a long time ago. But I don't have a lot of really significant memories in terms of like what brought me to where I am today. It kind of was just a thing that happened.
Right.
It was pretty much all good experiences from what I can remember. But I feel like in terms of my kind of career pathway, that didn't really start until more middle school era. And that really was kind of jump-started it was like the summer between 7th and 8th grade, where I actually developed an eating disorder just because of various things happening in my life. It was a coping mechanism. And so, I went through, most of that year kind of with that. And then it was that next summer that I got diagnosed. It was advanced enough that I had to be hospitalized for a period of time and then start really intensive treatment. I was able to go back to school to start what was technically freshman year of high school, but for us, we have junior high is 7th, 8th, 9th, so I was still at the junior high. And so at that point, they did kind of start asking us, because they prime us early in this community of like, where do you want to apply to college? What major are you looking at? Like, he started us. Thinking about it now, it's like, wow, you really, I guess they wanted us in high school to like start, you know, focusing on like how to prepare to apply to college. So it was early, but also, I guess it's probably good timing. But yeah, I knew at that point that like after having gone through this like very lengthy experience, and like I wasn't at all recovered at that point. I was just in recovery. and like stable enough that I didn't have to be in super intensive treatment. But yeah, I kind of knew that like eventually when I did recover, I would want to go back and kind of work in that setting and help people like me to recover from their eating disorders. And I knew at that point, I was like, being a therapist seems like a lot. I don't know if I want to pursue that route. But I did work with dietitians while I was there. And I was like, I'm good at science. I can do that. Let's do that route. And so, yeah, I just kind of like decided then, like, okay, I'm going to be a dietitian. Let's do this. And I just set my mind on that, and nothing ever really functioned to change that pattern. Like it never, because I continued to like recover from my eating disorder throughout high school, even into college. I was still kind of working on it on my own. But yeah, I was always pretty focused on that path, and yeah, got into Cal Poly with their dietetics program, which is a really good program. Yeah, that's so middle school was kind of just the time where I was like figuring out, like that's when eating disorder happened. That's when like I figured out this is the path I want to take, and I was determined enough to stick with it, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really, that's a really cool story, like kind of like that kind of early childhood experience like really kind of shaped your decision and to get into nutrition.
Yeah.
You said you enjoyed the science portion. Were you always really interested in science like as a kid?
I mean, I think, and this is true throughout my entire life, I've always just been a really, well, in quotations, good student. Like I've been good at school, but like, yeah, I think there was a test that was done at some point. I think it was like a STAR test or something. I don't remember what it was, but I did like a perfect score on the science.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh, cool, I'm good at science. But I did like science. I do like science. I think of the subjects, it seemed one of the most useful. I also, enjoyed English, but I think at that point, like I'd already started getting messages of like, oh, it's hard to go into the field in English. Like, what are you going to do? What career are you going to make out of that? And, so Davis especially pushed STEM hard. So I think those influences probably made it so like science seemed like a really viable option just as like a career path. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to to remember. I think what I was really interested in at that point, because everything, it still seemed like there was so much to do, even though you were preparing yourself for the future constantly.
Yeah. I'm always curious. Did you ever have like a dream? Like at least in third grade or first grade, I had like my teacher asked me like, "What is your dream job as a first grader?" Did you have that question?
I mean, it's one of those things that came up. I think, before the deciding to become a dietitian, I don't think I really ever had a clear idea or a clear dream, because all of my hobbies, all the things I enjoyed to do were like, I kind of, even as like a kid, I recognized like that takes a lot more work and a lot more talent to do, because I was like, I like soccer, I like singing, and I was like, I don't know if I want to be professional of either of those. That seems like a lot, I feel. So I was just kind of like, well, we'll see what kind of opportunities, what things, make themselves apparent to me in the future when that becomes to be more of a thing. Yeah. So I think, throughout elementary school, I think I kind of knew, like, I knew that I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was kind of just like, that'll happen.
Right.
But yeah, I'm probably kind of weird in that way, because I know that a lot of people definitely like have those dream jobs as really lofty ideas, and I think I've always been kind of a realist in a sense. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, that I kind of share that opinion, really, because like growing up, I never did have like that clear cut like I want to be this.
Yeah.
It's like I was always like I think similar to you, I had different hobbies, like different interests, but not one that was just like like I knew like right away. Like,
Yeah.
That didn't for me. That didn't happen until like college. Like this whole like nutrition and exploring kind of career things.
I was really lucky that it happened to me in like middle school, high school, because I know a lot of people who also they pick a college major kind of not necessarily at random, but they don't know like what they're going to do with it. Like nutrition and dietetics. I mean, you can go a lot of different places with nutrition, but once you kind of get into the dietetics, like dietitian field, like it's definitely a lot more narrow. But even then, I mean, you can do a lot as a dietitian too. There are a lot of different fields you can work in. So
okay, I guess since we're in the area of like kind of like the road to where you are now, where does dancing come into play?
Yeah. So dancing, I started dancing, I want to say, it must have been middle school. It was like late middle school. I had a friend who I was really close to who, actually I think two of them. Did both twins go? I can't remember. But I know at least one of them because she ended up working there. They went to this one dance studio in town, and they like always said it was like super fun. And I was like, oh, that sounds like something I kind of want to try. And so I started off doing mostly like solo dance, jazz, contemporary, modern. I think it's those kind of ended up mixed. I did like African dance for a while too. That was cool. I never really got into ballet. I kind of knew that I was starting too late to do it well. But yeah, so I started with those kinds of dances, and I did that throughout high school. And I ended up that studio ended up being actually my first job, so that was really cool.
Oh.
And so salsa dance actually was something that had always kind of been in the back of my mind, especially in high school. But it seemed really intimidating. I felt like I needed to have a partner. They didn't have a lot of options, it felt like, for people like under 18. So I kind of just put it off. But once I went to Cal Poly and found out they had a salsa club, I was like, cool, I'm going to join this. I'm going to see what this is about. And yeah, so it really, dancing started for me really salsa dancing started for me in college. I thankfully had, because of that background of having done dance before and kind of like being able to pick up choreography, knowing like steps and things like that. And I mean, CP Salsa, which is the club that I became a part of, they're super good at teaching people for like all dance levels, including like no experience. So I didn't need to have experience, but it made it a lot easier to pick up the dance, which then made me feel more confident in continuing it. Because I'm the kind of person that if I'm not at least a little bit good at it at the beginning, I drop it. So having, that definitely helps to keep me in the scene. But yeah, salsa dance specifically started in college, and I very quickly, because that was like my group. Like in high school, I was a part of like choir and a part of theater. My theater company especially, where like that was like my friend group, that was like my community group. And salsa was that for me in college, and continues to be that for me, because it's such a big, widespread group, and you meet so many people like around the state, around the country, around the world, depending on how far you end up traveling yourself, or where people come from for congresses. But yeah, I got really into it my freshman year. I think like halfway through my freshman year, I kind of became the de facto secretary of the club because something happened with their secretary, and I was just like started taking notes of meetings. And yeah, then it was official secretary my second year, and then president for my third and fourth year.
Wow.
So, yeah, I really got involved with the club. But yeah, so that's kind of like my backbone, the thing that keeps me sane, and that's been driving me insane in quarantine, because it is a social dance. And when you can't get together and dance with people, it's sad. But yeah, I'm thankful that now that people are getting vaccinated and able to see friends, we can do that. But yeah, and then actually, side note, when I met my current partner, my boyfriend, he became involved in our group because of mutual friends, but he's originally a West Coast swing dancer, and so because of that, I then got into another partner social dance. So yeah, just keep adding more dances. But salsa will always be my first love, and it's still kind of, the one I give the most attention to. But it is fun to have, kind of different skill sets in there, different music too. It's, very West Coast swing is a lot more pop music, a lot more that kind of thing, and where salsa is its own very defined genre. And then I also, even though they're called CP salsa, I also do like bachata, cha-cha, mostly just those three. I never got into like there's another plethora. There's a whole plethora of dances that falls under the Latin umbrella, but like usually you only call your club like salsa. But yeah, that's an aside. You can ask more about that if you want, but that's I don't know if that's what people want to hear right now.
Right.
I could go about that for a whole episode.
Well, that's true. I can definitely see, you have a passion for it. Okay, my one question about it, I guess, I don't know, this seems like it could take a while, but what is it particularly about salsa that you enjoy, that particular dance?
Yeah. So salsa, it is a Latin dance. It's technically it's a Afro-Cuban. Well, the music is Afro-Cuban. Everything, you find out that all music has African roots one way or another, but it is very clear in salsa. But funny enough, okay, no, I'm about to go into the whole. I don't need to do that. It's like I could. No, I think for me, the thing that really connects me to salsa, other than the people, the dance itself, it feels very freeing. It was one of the things that really helped me because, like, okay, going into college, I had just experienced. I have to go even further back for this. Okay, eating disorder. I had a restrictive eating disorder. I experienced anorexia, so all the time I was very much trying to stay thin. Senior year of high school, I gained a significant amount of weight. It was a weight that I was uncomfortable with. I had a lot of body image issues going on. And so coming into college, I was still dealing with that. And so finding salsa, that was a way for me to feel like comfortable moving in my body because I kind of stopped doing a lot of the exercises that I used to do when I was younger. And so this was a way for me to feel like I was doing activity, feeling like I was able to move in my body and feel good. And I feel like dance does that for a lot of people too. It's like you don't have to be a certain body type to do salsa or to do Latin dance. Like some of the best professionals, are bigger people, which doesn't necessarily make a difference, but it's not the thing you're usually presented. And so that really made me feel better and made me feel more confident in it. And then also the other thing connecting me to the dance is I really do love the music. Isn't for everyone, but it really is for me. I really love it. It does make me feel more connected to like my heritage, my Colombian side of me, because Colombia does have a decent stake on salsa music at least. And there is a whole style of salsa that is Colombian that I have not learned yet because the footwork is very different. I'll get there when I get there. But yeah, I think between the music, the people, the dance, and the way the dance makes me feel, like it was something that I tried out thinking like I might like this, I might not, but those were definitely the things that kept me in it and that continue to keep me in it. So yeah.
That
I tried to keep that as short as I could.
I could see the restraint that you showed there, because it definitely seemed like there was much more history that you knew about salsa.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, this is that I love hearing about this about people and what they're passionate about. It definitely seems like it's clear you're passionate about salsa, and like to be in the presence of someone that that just I'm lucky enough to kind of, witness the passion that you show out there. So that it's always super cool. So, and the fact that it was really, important, for you, like not just as like a hobby, but like as something to get through, like,
Yeah, through a really difficult time in my life. And yeah, it was that community too that like definitely made me feel more confident in myself, and I was able to kind of return to more regular eating habits. Because like a lot of what an eating disorder is just, it's a coping mechanism for anxiety, for trauma, it's usually just kind of a symptom of some other bigger problem going on. So coming to Cal Poly, having like a really great supportive community of people, it definitely helped make me feel like I didn't have to cope with a whole lot. So yeah, it definitely boosted my recovery for sure. I'm in a good place now, thankfully, after many years.
That's super amazing to hear. It's just so cool. Yeah, so let's see. So going into San Luis Obispo, how was their dietetics program, I guess, over there?
Yeah, so it's, as far as I've heard, it's a really well-regarded program. We also have an internship here at the school. I'm still in slowly. Actually, there's a window behind me. You can see campus from the window. I live the closest to campus that I've lived since living on campus, and I don't even have any reason to be there. So sad. But no, it's a really good program. I really do appreciate Cal Poly's whole motto, and they will like scream this at you. Learn by doing. And so you just hear it over and over again throughout time. But you really do get to do that, I feel. And it's hard because I don't have this experience of other colleges, and it might just be like more of the fact that it's like CSU and kind of a little bit more of like a trade-focused school versus a research-focused school. But we did do a lot of hands-on things that I think some people at other schools don't necessarily always get the chance to do. We had, whole kitchen labs, which I don't know if everyone gets the chance to have. Getting, like, especially during my later years, getting to, like, my counseling class specifically, I do remember, like, we got to work with, like, people in the community and give, like, nutrition and wellness counseling using, like, getting to practice, motivational interviewing and all of that. So there is a really big emphasis on, like, pushing you to go out and like either do usually do like projects or like get those experiences, those hands-on as much as you can experiences, so that you're not just learning everything conceptually, but you're actually doing it, because that is usually one of the best ways to learn, to get those things in your body. So yeah, I think, and then the program itself, yeah, it's just really high regarded. But I know that like something that was always told to me was like a lot of programs really like Cal Poly students because of that learn by doing experience, and because they really try to prepare us to do that.
Okay. Do you think you're naturally kind of suited for that kind of like the motivational interviewing means like interacting? Are you like very comfortable with like, going out there and like, interacting with people like that?
So yes and no. I think there is a sense, I'm trying to think of, because I feel like part of me has always like seen myself as more shy. I have difficulty sometimes putting myself into like new and uncomfortable situations. And I definitely struggle a lot with like imposter syndrome of like, do I actually know how to do this? Can I actually? And like I'm still going into grad school, like, can I write a thesis? Like, am I able to do that? People do this. This is normal. Do this. But I think once I've done it at least once, and once I've like seen that I can do this, like I got through that one experience, like I can do that again. Like usually I'm like, cool, let's keep going. Then it's always just that first one where I'm just like, I always you doubt yourself, and then once you prove to yourself that you can do the thing, you just kind of keep going and fake it till you make it. But I'm definitely, I think of myself as a people person. Again, it's, one of the reasons I like salsa so much is like interact with so many people. And while I didn't see myself in a therapy counseling route, having like the nutrition counseling, having that base of like kind of knowledge to just draw from and like in a way you're giving advice, but in a way you're more just asking them what advice they're looking for, asking them, the things that they're doing with motivational interviewing is just kind of asking the person, like, how do you want to change yourself? Like, what do you think you need to do? It's all about them. And so it's just, learning how to ask the right questions and stuff. But I do think I am pretty people oriented. I could work in a lab if I wanted to, but I don't think that's not an experience I've ever really wanted. And like all the jobs I've ever done up to this point have been like customer service. Like I work in food service a bunch. I work in a hospital now talking to patients all the time. So yeah, I think that is an area that suits me and my personality quite a bit.
Cool. Yeah, I asked that question only because I remember when we had our motivational interviewing section, I was just nervous out of my mind.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think everyone was nervous, and that's why I know in that class we practiced on each other all the time. Like we were constantly, our professor constantly had us like doing little motivational interviewing sessions on each other, and it always felt super awkward and super like, oh God, what am I asking? Is this an open-ended question? Am I, like, am I pushing this too much? And and that's the point of that, is so that when you're actually talking to a person who is genuinely looking for advice, you feel like, okay, I at least know what I'm supposed to be doing. Whether or not I actually do it, is questionable. And I definitely had issues with that. My motivational interviewing was not the best when I actually had to practice it. But you do what you can. And I think that's kind of everyone's experience, especially going into the field. It's like you're not going to be perfect when you first do it, and it's just like through practice that you are able to become good at any kind of skill. And so that's what the class was for, was to get to learn it, to practice it, and then hopefully be able to get the chance to, use it more in the future and get even better at it. But yeah.
Cool. So by the time you got into college, you knew that you wanted to do dietetics because of your previous experience with dietitians. Where was it as you expected, like the major and like the field when you were learning about it?
Yes and no. I don't know if I entirely knew what about nutrition I was going to learn. The program that I had itself definitely there was a lot more like food science and culinary courses than I was necessarily expecting. Like I did have a whole kind of like, I'm forgetting what the name of it was, but it was kind of like a culinary 101 class more than anything. There was a lot of food safety in there, which is, I think important for dietitians, for anyone to know. Everyone should know food safety. That should be a class for everyone. But, we did a lot more cooking than I think I ever anticipated, which I was super stoked about, because I always got to get food. Free food, man. Like college student's dream. But I think, yeah, I don't know. I guess I also didn't know how much like chem and bio was necessarily involved, and how much of that I was going to learn. And obviously, like, once I got to the more advanced courses, like macro and micronutrients and stuff, and, like, all those pathways, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I see why we learned this now in, like, one way or another. And so, yeah, I don't think I had any clear expectations going into what I was going to learn, or what it was going to look like. Because my experience with the dietitians, we never had super lengthy conversations about nutrition itself. It was usually just, like kind of figuring out how, like, my meal plan, and like, I think my assumption of their knowledge was just knowing how much I was supposed to eat. And like from an eating disorder perspective, that is kind of like the most of what you see from a dietitian, other than obviously like, as an eating disorder dietitian, you have to have the skill set to know how to talk to people with eating disorders, because you have to get into the brain of the sane person in there, and past the eating disorder that is going to scream at them, like, no, this person who is talking to you is wrong. Like, they don't know your body. And you, like, as a person with an eating disorder, there's definitely a lot of trust you have to give to those professionals that you work with, because like you do become so disassociated with what your body, like how your body actually works and what it actually needs. That but so yeah, I think it was just in terms of what I expected to learn. I did expect to learn like the meal planning stuff, which we kind of did a little bit more of, especially in like our clinical courses, like toward the end. I feel like what I expected to learn in dietetics or to become a dietitian was like definitely a lot of the stuff in like my senior year courses, like where the actual professional dietetics stuff came in, and then I wasn't totally aware of what kinds of things I would need to learn to get to that point. So
yeah, cool. Because I remember when, at least for me, like it was I was undeclared for a couple years, and then I got into nutrition, and I remember talking to my counselor. I told them, I took this nutrition, introductory class. The professor was a dietitian. I really liked him, and so I wanted to become a dietitian. And then so I told them that, and they're like, oh, like, this class isn't like, what nutrition, what the major is going to be about. There's going to be a lot of science. That's what they emphasize. They're like a lot of biochem, like a lot of like chemistry. And for me, that was okay, because I really love science. So like, I was fine with that. And that was the one I was most excited about. So yeah, so that's.
Yeah, no, I think a part of me, because I had looked in high school at like course lists at like, what programs typically offer. And so I did know that there was a decent amount of science. I was really happy. The one science that I was happy to avoid was physics. I never had to take physics. I was never good at physics. Well, I mean, I don't think I ever really tried physics. I avoided it. I've never had to take a physics class. So I was really happy about that. You know what? Bio and chem are more my speed. Bio especially. I really enjoy bio, and like physioanatomy was really cool. Chem, take or leave. I was happy that I only had to take like the survey of like OChem and biochem. I didn't have to do like a bunch of series for that part of it, which that was just because of my concentration. Is like the applied nutrition, like going into dietetics, you don't need to know all that stuff if you're trying to do more of a nutrition science route. They ended up doing more series and stuff, but it was cool to get to dabble in all of those different areas. Like I was really scared of OChem. I remember when I was going into it, and it ended up being like a really fun class because the professor was really great, and like I ended up really enjoying it. It was a really cool like learning experience. Like, oh, I understand how this all kind of works now, more or less, like structures and stuff.
That is so cool, because I remember at OChem that's like a different language though, is how they describe it.
Yeah, it kind of is. Like I remember having flashcards of like all of the different like structures and like the names for them and things. And, like I probably still have them somewhere. I don't think I'll ever use them again, but at least learning about like at one point you learn about like carbohydrates and like I mean it's really like I think you kind of needed it to be able to like get some of the things in biochem, like the structural things in biochem related to like how molecules interact with each other and all that. So yeah, it's really cool to be able to see like anytime you're able to see like, oh, I see how this class is able to now help me in this class, like my knowledge, how the knowledge builds on itself. Yeah, it's always cool to be able to see that happening in real time.
Right. I especially loved M&T.
Yes.
Because they how they describe it is like everything is connected into M&T.
Oh my god, yeah. that was such a fun. It was a fun and stressful class, but I loved like all of the knowledge and all the things of like getting kind of like you were saying, like getting to see how everything connects to each other.
Yeah, definitely. I just love the detective work around like the case the case studies.
Yeah, case studies, yeah.
And it's just like I'm just like it's just trying to figure out like what is wrong with this patient, like what is it that I have to take care of and stuff like that. Like that was the coolest thing for me.
Yeah, I think I loved that, and I also was like sometimes you were presented with so much like knowledge of like different things that it could be, and you're just like, oh my god, what could this like what okay, I sort of remember this one thing, but it also could have been this, and yeah, it's just having to always look back at your notes basically, and that's what makes tests so stressful, is like you weren't able to like having kind of notes with you and just going off of like, yeah, especially for like the later courses. I think the first couple where you were focusing mostly on like certain things like diabetes and how to help this one patient, or like anemia, it was relatively easy to kind of figure out. But once you throw in, a lot more labs in there and a lot more of those things, like when you throw more information, I feel like into the case study itself, there are so many more things that could be happening versus when you present you with less information.
That is, yeah.
I mean, it can either help you find it easier because like sometimes it'll paint a clearer picture, or it could be that there is more than one thing going on, and so that's the struggle, I feel like.
Yeah, I hate those cases. I mean, I remember the ones that were like, they just threw every condition at us. I mean, they had like cancer, cardiac issues, diabetic, renal. I'm like, what do I focus on? It's just like,
yes.
So I always thought those were the harder ones, but
yeah. And then always having to do, I remember struggling with like tube feeding calculations.
I actually enjoyed those because
I know I enjoyed it to a point, but then like, I mean, at the beginning, yeah. Sorry, no, you continue that.
Yeah, it's just they were one of the things that felt consistent. At least like there's a lot like steps wise that you have to kind of keep in track of, but at least I kind of liked math, so calculations seemed kind of familiar.
Definitely. I remember, I think I created a whole spreadsheet at one point, like an Excel spreadsheet, so I could type in just like a couple pieces of information, like BMI and the height, the age or something, and it would calculate everything for me.
That is so cool.
I don't know if it was like, I can't say that was entirely laziness because it took me work to do that, but it did save me time later of like having to do all the individual calculations.
I mean, that's smart.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we have computers for and programs.
Yes, exactly.
To save, it's just like the OChem thing. It's like we don't really use it day to day, but it's good to know how to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so then that was college, and then so then you talked about how, so we got into Cal State. How was the whole DICUS process for you, I guess?
Yes. Okay. So I don't know if every college does this, or every like nutrition. Yeah. I don't know if every college does this, but my Cal Poly is really cool in that my program, specifically the nutrition program, has a class for like when you're in your senior year, where it basically is just prepping you. Like you go through like filling out like your DICAS like application. They help with like writing your my brain is going statement of
personal statement.
Master's. Yeah, personal statement. Thank you. And I was like, that's the thing. That one essay that you have. Your personal statement and all of that. And so thankfully, because I was able to make connections with my professors and all that, I was able to contact the professor that teaches that and be like, hey, can I like sit in on this class? Or like, because everything was virtual, I was lucky enough that she just sent me the videos like of everything. And so I had that guidance that someone in my position that has like, got out of college and then applied, because I applied during this gap year, because it was, which is the part of the reason I took this gap year, was like I kind of knew in my head like I was doing too much in my senior year to be able to focus, to like be able to like have the time to do that and feel sane, and then especially with applying for a combined master's program, I also before I even started, was it before or after? I think I was before I studied, or I was filling out diecasts that I was studying for the GRE. Like, had to do that. There was a period of time where I was doing both at the same time, but it was very time consuming, for sure. It was, I think, for me, filling out diecasts was just tedious more than anything. It was like having to type out or like copy paste for me, because I have things written everywhere, like all of the information about yourself, like all of your work experience and like everything. And the personal statement too was also definitely a challenge. I definitely had at least like 4 or 5, maybe 6 drafts, and then I did a personalized, like I had a base one, and then I like tweaked it a little bit for each application that I was doing, so that it was, you know, individualized, and they wouldn't think that I just have like a stock one, which kind of did, kind of didn't. They also, and like, you know, each program has slightly different, like most of them have like the same base questions, but sometimes they'll have like an additional question, like specific question to the college. Like I can't remember if Long Beach had one. I think I applied to like CSUN, and I think they had one of like, why is CSUN like your number one? I think I usually said one way or another why I would be a good fit for this school, or why I chose this school, like something relating the program I was applying to back to, into the personal statement. But it was definitely tedious, but I was really thankful to have the support from the class. But then I also had, I think I had my partner minimally help me. I had a friend of mine that I made during my undergrad program, who's currently doing a same kind of program, a master's dietetic internship program in South Dakota, I think is where she is right now. But I texted her. I was like, hey, can you look over my personal statement? Please. I need someone who like sort of knows what this is supposed to look like. And like she was super helpful with that and gave me really great feedback and all of that. And like definitely, and if anyone listening is like doing this, get as much feedback as you can, because like it can really, like you can look at something and be like, oh, it's, you know, that'll probably be, that's okay, I like this. And then you'll get that feedback and be like, oh, I didn't even see that. Like, it was especially difficult to like talk about, you know, your strengths and weaknesses and not overemphasize the weaknesses, or, you know, make it so that the weaknesses aren't seeming too strong, like too bad, like you know, not painting yourself in a negative light.
Right. Yeah, definitely the personal statement has always been the one of the biggest roadblocks to my application, at least. Just writing has just never been my favorite thing. I'm more of a in-person talking, listening, not so much writing, unfortunately.
Yeah, for me, I really do enjoy writing. I find it comes more or less easily to me. I can definitely get things written down. I just tend to be very perfectionistic about it. And as you might gather from this whole conversation, I do have trouble with being concise. And that takes a lot of effort for me to not be really long-winded and to get the idea that I'm trying to convey down into, like, you know, a more compressed form, versus trying to cover every little detail that comes into my head.
That is so interesting, because I thought you were doing great. Fine. That's actually...
because that's because I was like consciously trying to I was recognizing like, oh, this could go way off the rails. I'm going to stop myself. I can be very talkative, for sure. And I can just kind of keep going on and on about things. And like, sometimes that'll definitely come out in my writing, where sometimes maybe I'll just use too many words, or like, I usually find the longer way of explaining something rather than the shorter way. Because I know there are some people that I know that are like really good at just like kind of getting things down to like basically what you need to know, and it doesn't always sound as nice. Like I think my focus is like trying to make things sound pretty, make it sound like as much as something can sound aesthetically pleasing, like that, basically. But yeah, I think writing in English was something I always enjoyed growing up. It was something I also, like, I wouldn't say excelled at, but, like, yeah, that I wasn't bad at, for sure, that I recognized I had a skill in, and that never held me back, for sure. And so that definitely made the personal statement easier than it might have been for other people. Made it faster to do, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely useful. Yeah, I share the same sentiment of the whole. Sometimes I can talk a lot, and then just I realize, wow, like just trying to collect the thoughts and like try to make a coherent point has always been is my dilemma as well. But yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so then you got in, and then how were you expecting, like, do you think, like, what were your expectations going, like, what were your kind of like thoughts when you finally turned in everything?
I mean, the biggest thing was just, relief of like, okay, now, like, I've done everything I can. We'll see how this goes. It was definitely cool to be contacted for interviews for certain places, especially when I got contacted about Long Beach. I was like, oh, sweet, that means, I'm like at least one of their top candidates, and I hoped. Then I also got contacted by a couple other schools. And so, yeah, then that process was terrifying. I don't know. Sorry, remind me, did you also do, I know you did the master's, did you also do the internship at Long Beach? Like, did you have to do the interview process?
Actually, no. So I did the undergrad.
Oh, you did the undergrad?
Yeah, I haven't done the internship yet, or the master's.
Okay, got it. So, something to know then. Yeah, for the interviews, Long Beach specifically asks, you feel like you're taking, like, an oral final, basically. They ask really, like, you feel like you're taking, like, well, it's not even an MNT because they covered a bunch of different areas. But it's like, there are some interviews where they're basically just getting to know you. This one was like content. Like, do you know this content? And that was stressful because I was like, oh no, it's been like 6 months since I've covered any of this. And like, I did try to have like a study sheet because I knew, thankfully, because of the resources that I had, I knew like that could happen. But I didn't know what they were going to ask or like, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think the interviews were probably the most stressful part after finally submitting the diecast application. I think I felt satisfied after submitting it with like, I feel confident in this because I worked really hard during undergrad to prepare myself to submit this application to get into an internship. Like, my grades were really high. I did try to get the work experience in the field, and yeah, it was just like, it's like applying to college again, basically, and you are, but yeah.
How was your, if you could rate like 1 through 10, like how was your confidence after those interviews? Like, how did you feel like after that?
It changed as time went on, because I think the first one was with Long Beach, and I felt really, or no, it wasn't. I think it was with someone else. It was with, I can't remember which one it was with. I think the first one I was like, that was okay, could have gone better, but it wasn't like, it was one of the lower end of my ranking of school, so I was like, that's okay. The next one, or was it? No, actually I think Long Beach was my first one, because I remember feeling like, shoot, I wish I had some practice before I had this interview. So after that one, I was feeling pretty low. I was probably feeling like a 4 or 5. Of like, that wasn't the worst thing that could have happened, but I was like, I might have to get into this school. And I was thankful that, like, they ranked like GPA and the GRE above the interview. So I was like, okay, at least I have that to make my saving grace. And maybe people will be in the same boat as I am. They're like, oh God, I don't know how to answer these questions. And then I think the next one was better. I had like some technical issues or something, because I had a phone interview for Long Beach, and then the next one I had was a video one, and I was like having some technical issues which threw me off, and I was like, oh, it could have been better. And that was the one that was like low on the end, so I was like, no, it's okay if I don't get into that one. hopefully it'll be okay. And the one after that was a very chill interview. Like, they didn't ask particularly like difficult content questions. It was mostly just about me. And it was like, it felt more like a job interview than anything else, which, you know, you kind of become accustomed to after a while. And I felt best about that one. So I feel like I started at like a 4 or 5. It came up to like maybe a 6 or 7. Then I feel like if my high was probably like an 8. I never felt great, but I didn't feel like horrible after the interviews. I was mostly just happy to get them over with. But yeah, I didn't necessarily expect that Long Beach was going to choose me. I was like kind of preparing for it, but kind of just like, you know what, it'll be fine. And yeah.
Okay. And then, yeah, that is cool, but you did get in, so they definitely
I did get in, so yeah. I just doubted. I doubt myself a little too much sometimes, but it keeps me humble. I'm not bad. I'm always trying to be better. That's the one good thing to come out of that. But no, I should believe in myself more sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm here now, and I'm happy about that. Well, where I am now, I'm happy about that.
Very nice. And I guess let's see. So then we're at that point, and then so from now to the next 2 years, comparing the two programs, like, because the master's and the internship, are you like equally excited for both? Are you like looking forward to one more than the other? Like, how's that combination working out?
I think I am looking forward to the internship more than the master's part of it, because I kind of know. I mean, it's just practicing kind of what you know. You're doing rotations and things. That's really exciting. I'm definitely looking forward to being able to practice the skills and the knowledge that I've learned. The master's, I'm looking forward to the classes and being able to get more knowledge and all of that. I'm scared about writing the pieces or doing the directed project. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, whichever one. Essentially, doing the actual research part of it. Just because I don't know. I've never done something quite of that length, and I didn't really get the opportunity in undergrad to be part of a big research project or anything, because I know there are some people that did research professors and things. Although you don't have as many opportunities for that. Cal Poly is not a super research-centered school necessarily. But I think I'm just scared about I still am not. And I mean, it's really early to necessarily know exactly what I would want to do. But yeah, I have a vague idea. I mean, I know I want to do something with eating disorders for my thesis, but I don't even know what direction I want to go in with that. And, every once in a while I'll try to brainstorm just for myself and be I don't know. So I'm not looking forward to having. I feel like once I've gotten started, it won't be bad. But I am definitely I don't know what it's going to look like to actually conduct the research necessarily. I don't know, because I'm assuming I'm going to be doing it on my own, so I don't know what resources I'll necessarily have available to me to do things. Money, I don't know if they have things for me to use. So yeah, there's a lot more uncertainty about that whole aspect, which I know will become clearer as time goes on. And people go into this program every year and do this, so I know it's possible. It's just the not knowing that it's just keeps me on it. And yeah, just still feeling that imposter syndrome of can I even do this? Even though I know I can, but I just haven't done it yet, or I haven't started doing it yet. So it will still be there until I can prove to myself that I can. But yeah, I definitely would say that I'm looking forward to the internship more than the master's. But I think it'll all turn out good. It'll all turn out fine.
True. There's a couple things that popped in my head. Learn by doing. I guess you'll forever have that in your
Yep.
DNA. And then the second part is, it seems like, the repeating that, the motivational interviewing. It seems like we're back on that step one of like, nervous. We're in that nervous phase because we don't know what to expect.
Exactly.
Not knowing, but it seems like you have the right perspective on it. It's just like, as time goes on and as you, explore more into it, get those resources, that, is it preceptors or?
Yeah.
No, I meant the professors. Yeah.
Oh, professors. I was like, preceptors, I mean, that's the internship. So
yeah.
That is a thing.
So more the professors will, guide you a little bit on that. You're going to be writing multiple theses.
Well, maybe eventually. I'm just going to try to do one.
Right. Yeah. So, let me see. Mm-hmm.
That would happen. My earbuds, microphone, sometimes decide they don't want to connect to the computer, and the computer aux cord doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So I was like, don't do this in the middle of the thing. I was glad we made it this far without it doing that. Sorry.
Oh no, yeah, I did hear something, but it seems like we're back, so that's good.
We're back, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, that seems like exciting. I mean, like like they say, like, a lot of progress is made in that uncomfortable, nervous area that, where we feel uncomfortable is the right direction to go to like grow, and it seems like you're
the
right
place
there.
Where you grow, yeah.
Yeah, so these next 2 years are going to be really exciting. Getting to that, learning,
definitely.
Finalizing what it kind of means to be a dietitian a little bit, at least before you get the title, and then the world after that is another world. But at least you're in the right direction, it seems.
Okay.
Hello.
I'm sorry about that. Technology doesn't like me a lot of the time. This should hold us over for the rest of whatever we need to talk about. Did you continue recording throughout that, or?
Yeah, it's fine. I can cut those parts out.
I figured as much. I just wanted to make sure that this was still going. So, can you repeat what you were saying before my face probably went like a wide-eyed and being like, I can't hear you?
Right. I was talking about the next 2 years, and I think I was mentioning like it's exciting and uncomfortable direction. It seems like you're in the right place.
Yes.
And then what was I gonna say? Oh well, I was thinking about my next question, which was at least the question of you mentioned a little bit. You did want to work with like you showed interest in the eating disorder population. Did you have like a longer, or did you see yourself working? I guess in the long term, what did you see yourself doing as an RD? If you did have a plan of some sort.
Yeah, so that is kind of what I do see myself doing, is working with eating disorders. I actually have I applied to and I'm kind of in the interviewing process-ish for a part-time job at an eating disorder facility in Long Beach that I will hopefully be working at while I'm doing the program, so that I can kind of get a little bit more experience in that field before I try to actually really enter it or do it in the internship. But yeah, I think my as a kind of more specific concrete goal, I would like to work in a intensive outpatient facility, kind of like the one, because I had to go to one for a period of time, and I feel like that's the place where I would do the best. I don't necessarily see myself, because I do know there are people, and I do know a couple people that do like private practice type thing where they started their own business or have their own group, and I don't see myself necessarily going that route. I'd like to have a team to work with that's already there. And I feel like I would probably, I don't know, there might be less counseling on my end if I'm doing the people that are still kind of in more advanced stages. That's not really the right terminology, but that are kind of deeper in their eating disorders still, that are still needing a little bit more help. Because I feel like once you're in outpatient, the dietitian does kind of you do have more time for that motivational interviewing, for that kind of counseling stuff, whereas in inpatient or intensive outpatient, you still have that. You're still, trying to calm patients, and like help them. And that is like something that I experienced while I was there. Was like, there was one dietitian that really did, like, I remember she took me to it's like Denny's or something. It was like, because they're trying to have you like confront your fear foods, basically, and for like most people with eating disorders, that is fast food. And so, like, helping to make you feel comfortable and having those kinds of things. And that was, it just seems like a place that would kind of suit me and what I'm looking for, is having that team, having that support system, and having, I don't know, kind of, I don't know. I feel like that's just where I've had the most. I did a lot of work after, but I feel like that's where the biggest changes were made for me. No, that was the place that really impacted me. So,
yeah, I see. Yeah, that's really cool. You said you're gonna manage. You're gonna be able to manage. It seemed like a lot, right? At least the masters.
It does seem like a lot. So the thing with the program at Long Beach, so the way that it works is that the first year you're basically only doing the masters. You're focusing on the master's classes. You're not doing really anything with the internship during that first year. And so you're doing pretty much all your coursework, or all the coursework for the masters. And then the second year, that's when you do like your thesis or direct project. That's when you do like the research portion of the masters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there might be like 1 or 2 classes that you do. And then that's also when you do the internship. So I was told, because I asked this question during like the Q&A session that was held, like, do most students have a part-time job? Is it something that you like recommend, or like does it like not recommend for students? And the answer that I got was like, most people are able to work a part-time job. And I figure, like, I'm already used to juggling a million things. So, I'm definitely not going to try to do a full-time job. I don't need to. But I think a part-time job, just given the information that I've been given, especially if it can give me some experience in the field, would be a good thing to do and like really beneficial to me, and something that I can manage.
Well, that is super cool. Exciting stuff. I mean, yeah, like, getting to work in that eating, if you do get to, work in that eating disorder facility, does seem perfect, at least for what you're interested in.
I mean, that's why I applied there, because I was like, I need this experience. Because, you don't usually get to work with people with eating disorders when you're in undergrad or anything. And I mean, I probably will a little bit more during my internship, but the rotations are, the internship itself only takes a year. So the internship, or the rotations are pretty short, and I want to have a little bit more experience with that specific community than what I think the internship will give me, which is why I'm looking for a job in that field.
Very cool. I guess the final question I didn't really get into talk about was maybe a little bit on your work history, getting work experience.
Yeah, so I think I did. Yeah, I touched on this a little bit before when we were talking about like my like people personality type. I've basically always done something that was kind of customer service oriented. Well, not necessarily customer service, but there's another word for it, but I'm going to stick with customer service for now because that still fits more or less. Like my first job was as like a kind of office assistant secretary type thing at a dance studio that I frequented. And then after that, it's basically all been food service. Like I worked, or actually no, there wasn't always food service, but the next one was I worked at like the campus dining, and I just made food there. And then there was like the summer after that job, so all throughout like a lot of junior high, all of high school, I volunteered at a science center in Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a job there, like kind of as an administrative assistant, and I helped with camps and stuff. They have like science summer camps and things. So I did that for a bit. So working with teaching kids kind of thing. I did a lot of volunteering. I did a lot of volunteering with kids in high school because the theater program I had a summer camp, and to be in the summer production, you had to help volunteer to run the camp. And then, but yeah, after Explore It, I took a couple of years off from work because I wanted to focus on school and I didn't necessarily need the money. And then I started working in a kitchen at the Children's Center on campus. So that was just, more food service, a little less with people, but it was still food service. And then after that, that was my last job before graduating. And after that, I started working at Panera part-time, doing that quite a bit. That was like up to like 30 plus hours a week. And then also working at a hospital as a dietary aide part-time. So yeah, a lot of food service, a lot of people. But those are the experiences that I've had thus far. And a lot of them, especially later on, I was trying to focus on getting experience that would be useful to me as an RD or, applying to internships, stuff like that. Panera was, funny enough, meant to be, when I applied there, I was like, this will be like a no-brainer kind of job, relatively stress-free. And then it ended up being super stressful because I became a supervisor there. And it's just not run super well. I quit that job and I'm happy to quit that job, but yeah, it paid the bills, is all I'm gonna say.
I see. Yeah, definitely a lot of experiences there. It seemed the whole volunteering thing is always really interesting. You get involved in lots of different places, lots of different types of people. So it just seems like it's going to help you, in the field, just because you deal with a lot of people.
Yeah.
As a RD.
I'm well-rounded in that sense.
Yeah. And at least in this talk, definitely, you definitely have like a, bright attitude towards other people. So that's just, I'm sure you're going to help a lot of people in your future career. The one thing is, maybe as we're wrapping up here, the person I did get to talk to, Elizabeth, last week, interestingly enough, and I was actually surprised when today because of it, she is really into dancing as well, and specifically swing dancing.
I think I remember seeing there was like we all submitted like little introductory thing or like a fun fact about ourselves, and like so mine was like salsa West Coast. I think I saw hers was I think she does more like Lindy swing. There are different kinds of swing. I found this out later on. There's a different. I don't think she does West Coast. I think she does Lindy or like kind of East Coast, but usually referred to as Lindy. But yeah, I did see that. Yeah. Sorry, you continue with what you were saying.
Yeah, no, I thought it was just very interesting. The whole dancing and like just like the commonality. Yeah, I don't know why. It's just out of all the dances, just for some reason there was some sort of commonality.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of social dances out there, but you'll usually you will find that people do more than one, or like they start with one and then kind of find their way into another, because the dance community is just like really connected in a way. People that like to dance usually like to try new dances, and especially when it's a social dance, like people like to meet more people. It's a great way to if you're tired of dating apps, social dancing is a great way to find new people. I found that out. I was talking to my partner about that the other day. It's like, I've never had to use a dating app. I've always just been able to meet people one way or another. But yeah.
Sounds like a good way. At least, you get to see them and, they're conveniently there.
Yeah, you get to find out if you have a connection one way or another, just kind of like in a no pressure kind of environment. Mm-hmm. So that's always cool. Can either make a friend or maybe more than that.
Very nice. Huh. And so I guess the one thing is we didn't get to talk about was COVID. And so
oh yeah.
And like how was that whole experience, and how that things have been opening up more? So have you been able to, like, has there been more like dance like opportunities and stuff like that for you?
Yeah, so right now, because there was like not part of the club, but there were some people that were like in the club that were hosting like outdoor lessons in the park. I usually didn't go, mostly because I had work, but also because I felt that the people that were running it weren't always being the most, they weren't being the safest in their own lives. Like, and this was like pre-vaccine, that they were like going out and doing things, and so I didn't always feel comfortable hanging out with them. Now that the vaccine is around, I'm mostly waiting for my partner to be fully vaccinated before I go out and like really start to have fun. But things are opening up a little bit. We do plan to go to, we call them congresses. They're kind of just like big events, like that are held at like hotels and stuff, where they, have a big dance floor. They have lessons and workshops and things like that. And so we're planning to do go to one of those for salsa in November. So that's definitely happening. And then hopefully, lessons and those kind of in-person events will be starting up soon. They're still not quite happening. And then for West Coast, we're actually making a trip to Texas in July to go to a West Coast event where, like, I think everyone has to be vaccinated to go to that. So yeah, like, things are definitely opening up. Events are starting to happen. I am seeing more on like Facebook and things of like in-person events, usually with like limited capacity. I think masks are usually still required. At least like if they're in California, sometimes I'll see things from other places. Other states, I found out, act very differently than California does. Like Arizona parties hard during quarantine. But yeah, things are looking up. I'm still waiting a bit longer before I feel fully comfortable engaging in everything that's happening. But yeah, hopefully with time we'll be able to get back to normal again. And for now, I'll just be happy with hanging out with the dance friends that I have that are all vaccinated, and getting to have the little mini social dancing going on. At least being able to experience the dance part. So.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. It is something really important to you, so I'm happy that you can still do it in some capacity.
Yeah, for sure. Me too.
Yeah, so that seems to, at least I'm satisfied with what we were able to cover today. About your journey to this point, at least. Right at the beginning of your master's combined program journey. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, anything else that you wanted to maybe add in there? Or?
Not really. Just feel free to contact me in like a year or something, and we can see how things have progressed. But yeah.
Yeah, I would love
I'm
that.
Excited.
Yeah, that's great. Because I love getting the before and after experiences. This as kind of like a journal entry of
basically, yeah.
of where you're at, how you're feeling, and then it's be really cool to kind of look back and kind of see what.
Be like, yeah, oh, I was right about this. I was wrong about this. This ended up being really different than I expected, kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely, sometime in the future, I would definitely love to get that follow up and just see what's been happening.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so well, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your journey and experiences. It was a pleasure for me to listen and to hear that story. And I loved your passion for dancing and nutrition. I mean, I could feel it, I could see it. It was a pleasure. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for reaching out.
Oh, no, thank you. All right, so that'll wrap up this 9th episode of the Gabriel podcast. I had my wonderful guest, Mikaela Manzano, here on, and I hope that you guys were able to get something out of it and enjoy the episode. So, see you later, you guys. Bye.
Bye.